Hello, listeners. I am so thrilled that you're here today because we have a favorite. Dr. Duana Welch, the Love Doctor, the gal who studies the science behind finding a good match, is back with us. And Duana, our listeners love your advice. And we're going to talk about dating and dating after divorce. So, but I always do like to start with your story. And for people who didn't listen to the other, did you do 2 or 3 other episodes with me?
Yes.
So, for those who didn't listen and don't know you, can you fill people in what led you down this path to being the doctor of love and relationship and helping people kind of moving forward after their divorce?
Sure. Well, most people get interested in something that impacts them personally.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got interested in it. And I just realized that I wanted to do things differently. I wanted to have more success in this very important realm of love. Not sure if you realize this, but who we love, how successful that relationship is, has more impact on our health, our wealth, our longevity, our career success, our life satisfaction, and even our sex life than any other choice we will make. So it's a big important choice. It affects everything except how good looking you are. That's the only thing it won't change.
Oh, that's so good to know, because part of this podcast is really helping people down the journey to well-being. And I try to incorporate all kinds of things. So I really love that you said that. And so, for that person who maybe is trying to find the courage to go out and find love again, do you have some advice, some steps that they can take after a divorce?
Absolutely. And as you know, I just applied this to my own life. I
Yeah.
have a brand new, fully revised and updated edition of Love Factually,
Which
10
I
Proven
need to
Steps to
get
My.
because I have the older,
You
the
have the old
older
one,
version.
yeah. Don't get the
Yes.
one with glasses. Get the one with the looking glass on it and the heart in the middle of the
All
magnifying
right.
glass. Yeah. Because you'll see at the bottom it says revised and updated edition. The thing is, the old edition is 7.5 years old now.
Mm-hmm.
And science didn't stop just because I wrote a book. It just went right
Right.
on. So there's a lot of stuff in the new edition that wasn't in the old edition. So yes, indeed, I have a step-by-step plan. I followed it, and I don't know if you know this yet, Lisa. I'm getting married October 1st.
Yay, I didn't know that. That
Yeah.
is so exciting. So this is why it's so fun to make friends. The one blessing of COVID, right? We get to make friends with people. And now I get to hear that amazing news. So, okay, share with us those. Do you mind sharing some of the steps? You can leave some of them for people to find in the book.
Well, I could tell you all 10 and people would still, the
The
book
book,
gives
yes.
details, everything's in the details. But I will say, somebody said the other day, well, that was awfully fast and indicated that Carrie, my fiance, was waiting in the wings when I got my divorce. And what I said to him was, not that I needed to justify myself, but I did. I said, I had been separated and divorced for um, about a year and a half by the time that I went online.
Okay.
And I met Carrie 7 days into my search.
Wow.
I
But
met her
you're
7 days.
really good at the searching and knowing what you want. And so, I mean, I guess that probably
That's
your advice is to like have the courage to look for someone.
Yeah, if you're dating after divorce, you're probably in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and it's not a very esteem building time of life.
Right.
Trust me, I know. It's especially if you've been divorced more than once.
Mm-hmm.
It's really you just kind of have this feeling like, what's the point? I'm not good at this. I'm not going to succeed. And so many people feel like that I'd like to give you an alternative perspective, which is you're not competing against everyone in the world. You're only competing against the people who are single and engaged in the search. And that's not most people. Most people give up.
Right.
So, for example, the odds of a woman getting remarried if she wants to after the age of 50 are 15 in 100. It's not good odds, right?
Wow.
15%. And that gets worse every year. However, I'm going to be 54 soon. And I did it, and you can too. And one of the ways that I did it was by understanding that because I not only knew what works, I wasn't guessing at what works. I absolutely know because I know the science, which science
Right.
tells us what works for most people most of the time. So I knew what worked. And I also knew that the people I'd been thinking of as potential competition, they're not competition because they're not trying. They either don't have
Right.
the information or they're keeping themselves out of the mating market. So the number one thing I would say is put yourself in, because Mr. and Ms. Right is not going to happen to you. That's a fairy tale. It's very unlikely. Statistically, it's very unlikely. And as people get older, they tend to give up more. It's not that people aren't marriageable. As you know, in your profession, gray divorce is the fastest growing segment of divorces.
Yeah.
Divorce
Yep.
over the age of 50. And a whole lot of those folks could repartner if they wanted to. If they wanted to badly enough to take action. And that's a lot of people say to me, well, I would take action if the right person just happened along. But the right person isn't going to happen along. You're going to have to
Right.
make effort, and it's going to have to be a special kind of effort. So the number one shift is just an attitude shift of realizing that love is not for the lucky and the few. It's for all the people who know what they're doing and have the courage to do it until they find the right partner. And people tell me how lucky I was to meet Carrie, and I got to say, I totally agree. I was very lucky to meet him, and it wasn't just luck. Chance favors the prepared, right?
Right.
Fortune favors the prepared and the bold. And so,
I'm
what I'd
just,
like to do in this session is prepare you to be fortunate and to be bold.
oh, I love that. So the first step is to have that attitude that love is for you. So you could, and I always try to help people work on their mindset and, their beliefs, because that changes your actions. And so if people can do that first, then they're going to have more courage to move forward. Is that your first step of the 10?
Actually, it's the exact reverse of that, because
Oh,
imagine that you're clinically depressed and you go see a PhD psychologist, which I am, but I'm not that kind of psychologist. I'm a researcher. I'm not a clinician. I'm also a coach, by the way, but I tell everybody I'm not a therapist. I'm a coach. They're very
right.
different things. So let's say that you went to a professional and you said, I'm depressed. And they said, don't be. And you said, oh, thanks.
Right.
Okay, that doesn't work. Here's what works, though. Just like attitudes predict actions, actions predict attitudes. So I don't ask people to change their mindset. I ask people to do the action of getting back out there, and their mindset will change as a result.
Okay.
But it does matter how you get back out there, which is why people hire me. I tell them exactly how to do it. It's why they read my book. I tell them exactly how to do it. It's why, I don't know if you know this, but I've also, since we met last, instituted a 15-minute free session policy. So anybody who wants can try it out.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of people who I think were like, I don't know. So, a lot of those people wind up working with me, and some of them don't. But I try to make sure every one of them leaves that session with something they can change right now today that will make their life a lot better in their relationship, whether they have a relationship now, whether they're looking for one. But the very first thing is start preparing yourself for success in dating, which means taking action. It doesn't mean changing your mindset. It means taking action. And the first action I want people to take is to write down everything that they want in a partner. Everything.
Okay. Step number 1, write down everything you want in a partner.
Write it all down. And
Okay.
there are a number of ways to approach this, and I encourage my clients to approach it in all of the following ways, because you want as much information on here as possible. Can I get my list? I'm going to get my list on my desk. Okay.
Of course you can.
Okay, I'm digging up my list. Here we go. Duana's 10 must-haves. Okay, I wrote this. Well, I worked on it over years, because every time I would think of something else, I would add to it. But which I advise people to do. But I want you to do it on your computer. Don't do it on your phone. You don't have room enough, and it's too hard to cut and paste and move stuff around. Don't do it on a piece of paper unless you're going to transfer that to a computer, because I want you to be able to write everything, no matter how embarrassing it might be and no matter how detailed it might be. I want you to be able to do it in a way that you can move stuff around, because this exercise involves moving stuff around. And I want you to be able to revise, edit over the years, and if you need to over the years. You probably won't, but if you need to. And I also want you to be able to kind of print this out and use it for your conversations to see if someone's the one before you even meet. So getting into this, the first exercise is write down absolutely everything that you want or need. Don't even bother to parse it out, whether it's a want or a need yet. Just write it all down. Write it down, even if you think you can't have it. Write it down, even if you've never seen it in your life, even if no one you know has this. Write it down anyway. This is not the time to edit.
Okay. And now I have to ask, you said to do it on a computer?
Yeah, because you can edit and revise and move stuff around. And I'm going to ask you to make so many changes to this. If you do this on paper or on a phone, you're going to hate yourself. Just saying, you will say, "Oh my gosh, I see why she said do it on a computer." Also,
on a computer.
You can password protect it there. And let's have sensitive things on them. Not everybody's comfortable having it where their kids can walk up and see it.
Right. Okay, so that's the number one thing.
After they do, put everything. Now, and like I said, there are a number of ways to do this. One is think of everything you didn't get but you needed or wanted. Put that on there.
Okay.
No. If you're watching this, good odds that you're divorced, which means that at some level your needs weren't met. Even if the other person left you, one of your needs is to have somebody who won't leave you.
Right.
I mean, that's basic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Someone who wants to be with you, someone who's enthusiastic about who you are, not who you might turn into or might,
right,
that kind of thing. So put everything in there. Number 2, go back through the list and then put it all in positive language of what you do want. I've been divorced a couple times, and both times it was because of alcoholism. Okay. The irony, Lisa, is I don't drink. Like, I don't drink at all. I never have. I didn't drink when I was a teenager. I didn't drink in my 20s. I'll take a sip of what somebody's having, and then I'm done. It just doesn't appeal. So, and nobody in my family drank. So I don't even know what healthy drinking looks like, apparently. It really and truly, nobody I knew really drank.
Yeah.
So I realized this time around I needed to say, instead of saying not an alcoholic, which is a negative way to, if I say don't think about the bear, you're thinking about a bear right now.
Right.
So I say don't think about an alcoholic or not an alcoholic, your brain searches for the noun that you give it. It doesn't process the word not or don't in that equation. Mm-hmm. If you say look for an elephant, bears don't enter into it.
Right.
So I wound up doing what psychologists call operationalize the variable, which means define it. Say exactly what's okay with you. And I said, is sober and responsible as a lifestyle, drinks up to 5 drinks a year.
Wow, you were very specific.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted someone who was sober because they wanted to be.
Okay.
Not because somebody else told them they had to be, not because it had caused them a problem. I wanted somebody who matched me. Mm-hmm. And I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but I have some of the same problems that everybody who approaches me has. And one of them is when people make their list, they think, oh, I'm never going to find that person. And I specifically thought I wasn't going to find the person who didn't drink just because he doesn't drink. But guess what? I'm marrying a person who doesn't drink just because he doesn't drink.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So make your standards, then divide them, write them in positive language of what you want, define what you want, be very specific. What would kindness look like to you? What does respect look like to you? What does it look like to you for somebody to be accepting of who you are? What does it look like to you for somebody to be a good potential step parent to your children if they're still young enough that matters? Or, Carrie and I have grown children. What does it look like supportive of your role with your grown children and maybe someday your grandchildren. What does that look like? Write it down. Be specific.
Mm-hmm.
Then parse it out into what you have to have. That's must-haves versus what you want to have. This is actually the hardest part for most people. Most people think that anything that's important to them is must-have and everything else is want. That's not the way to look at this. And I'll tell you why. When you meet someone that you really like, if you've done your list that way, if you've just been kind of, well, I really want it, so it goes on must-haves, you're going to compromise. You are going to,
Yep.
which means you might compromise on something that really is a must-have, which means you're going to get divorced again. That's
Yep.
what that means. Don't make a deal where the deal is broken from the day you meet. Don't make that deal.
Right.
This is how not to do that. What you have to do is a must-have standard has to meet the following high bar. If you met a perfect person, I mean everything that you want, absolutely all of it, but they lacked this one thing, would the deal be broken? And if it would, that's a must-have. Everything else is a want, even if it's a super, super, super strong want. Example,
Okay.
if I met somebody who drank every time we went out on the weekend or whatever, and I thought, well, I mean, it's just one drink a week and it's more than five, but for me, I'm going to be waiting for the other shoe to fall. It's not so much that the other person has a problem, it's that I do.
Right.
I'm always going to be waiting for the other shoe to drop on this issue because it has twice,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So that's not for me. That's a must have for me. I'm not saying it's a must have for you. Your must haves are highly individual.
And that's where being specific is so important because you said 5 times a year.
Yeah, five times
Um,
or less, that was my standard.
yep. Yep. And so for some people, it might be 1 day a week, or it might be, you just whatever
I
that
work with a
is.
lot of people who are like, if they have the equivalent of one alcoholic beverage, which a lot of people don't know what that is, but it's 1 ounce of hard
Probably
liquor or
smaller than what we
one
think.
beer,
Yeah.
yeah, or I forget, like 4 ounces of wine, something like that. That's a drink. So they'll say, okay, up to 4 drinks a week, but no more than two at a time during that week.
Okay. Yeah.
That's extremely reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
If I hadn't had the experiences that I'd had, I would think that was a wonderful standard. That's somebody who is drinking responsibly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number 3, must-haves and wants.
And wants, yeah.
Okay.
And then number 4 is go back through your list, put a check mark next to everything that describes you. So if you want somebody 5'10" and you're 5'10", awesome. But if you want somebody who's 6'4" and you're 5'2", you need to examine that for a couple reasons. Do you know the percentage of men in North America who are 6'4"?
No.
Just take a wild guess.
Okay. 1.
You are correct.
Oh my gosh.
You are correct. It's 1%. So that's how many people with schizophrenia there are in North America. That's how many people with type 1 diabetes there are in North America. Mm-hmm. Type 1 being the kind you usually get in childhood and are insulin dependent for. It's a rare thing. And yet the vast majority of women, 80% of women, think that they have to have a man who is 6 foot tall or taller. And I'm here to tell you that if that's your standard, you're competing for a very, very narrow slice of humanity. Very narrow slice of humanity. And you are literally overlooking men who are perfectly amazing human beings. Nobody divorces over how tall the partner is. Nobody does.
No. Okay, so now I'm trying to make sure I have these steps correct. So after you have the must-haves and the needs, you go through that list.
Yep. Put a check mark next to everything that describes you. And if it describes you, fair standard.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you're going to get all of it. The thing is, you have to have every single must-have. And this is why I really turn the screws on the must-have standard of if they were otherwise perfect and they didn't have this one thing, would the deal be broken? Because if you're my client and you start seeing someone who lacks one of these must-haves, I'm going to really push for you never to see him again. You did the work of saying it was must-have.
Right.
said it was must have. If you change your mind after you meet somebody, that's putting yourself in a position to get another divorce.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the must-haves
Well,
are
and
so
I
important.
can,
You have to you, you have to
sorry.
stick to your own standard, is what I'm saying. Stick to your own standard.
Mm-hmm. And set it up so that you can. And if you're saying, I want someone who's super fit and you never work out and you're not fit, does that really make sense? That makes you think through that a little bit more.
Right. Right. The good news is most people actually look for their match. And the even better news is lots and lots of research for about the past 40 to 50 years shows that the matching phenomenon is a real thing. People who match in physical attractiveness and a lot of other things, their values, for example,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that they like to do in their spare time. People who are a close match in all the important ways and a little bit of the superficial ways, they are much happier than people who aren't a good match.
Right.
So basically, your list helps you find your match because most people ask for someone who's almost just like themselves, and that's a fair standard.
Yep. All right. I've got the 4. What's number
Yeah.
5?
So number 5 is let's put this into use. Do the research on who you're going to approach with this. My book, I know we don't have time to go into all this, but my book goes into how do you figure out who to share this with in real life? How do you figure out who to share this with online, and where do you go online? Also, which photos do you use? Because whether you're going to be your own matchmaker, which is creating your profile, you're not going to share this list. You're going to share your profile. The list is the basis for the profile.
Right.
You're going to share photos and your profile with carefully selected friends, colleagues, family, who are then going to
Okay.
act as your matchmakers. And you're going to share it someplace on the interwebs, whether that's an app, a site. And my book goes into how to make those choices of where you go.
Okay. I feel like we could do an episode totally on that too.
Yeah, and we could do another episode on how do you take good pictures, because I will tell you, people have no idea how to do this. They just don't.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think maybe we should maybe get to the nuts and bolts of that, of kind of working with a dating app and another one.
yeah, sure.
All
And
right,
then,
I'm writing this down.
you should have a profile based on your ad. Your profile needs to fit the following standards. It's about them, not about you. Everybody writes about themselves, you know, okay, but everyone does it. It's not a differentiator.
Right.
And there's a reason that people go on BuzzFeed and Board Panda and do quizzes about themselves, not about other people. People are interested in themselves. People take quizzes about themselves. So gaining self-knowledge, it's exciting to most people, and your ad should give them a chance to do that.
Tell me how you do that. That's very interesting to me.
Okay, so I'm going to give an example. Here are my 10 must-haves. Secure, sober, sensual, smart, kind, respectful, responsible, generous, loyal, feminist, and wants the same type of relationship that I do. And then I have like a full-on paragraph written about each thing. And every sentence in those paragraphs has to be there or we're done.
Okay.
Every single one. And where I got that from, that was just a further action that I did. Obviously, I can't. I'm doing the wrong thing. There we go.
No, yeah.
So I started with, doing my list. I've got must-haves, and they go for like single space, a page and a half. And then I've got wants, and they go on for a page and a half, almost 2 pages. And what I did is I then spent considerable time, and I actually do this for my clients. I write their ad right in front of them.
Okay. But how do you make it about the other person?
Well, here's my ad.
Yep.
So you consider what format you might like. You might want to, I wrote an ad for, I was a casting agent, and I was writing an ad for the male lead in a fun rom-com that was going to be produced. And I've written ads like that. I've written ads that are kind of, like a radio announcement or a podcast announcement. I've written ads that were reworked words to a song that everybody knows, but everyone has to know the song. Like it can't be a song that, only 10 people in America know. It needs to be something that people in that age bracket, they all know it, and it's catchy, so it sticks in your mind, so that when they're reading your words, song. But anyway, yeah, that's what I did. And so I'll just give you an example. You're going to go through your must-haves and your wants, and you're going to pick out some key things, and you're going to say, this is what my person is like. This is who he is. And if that's you, I want to hear from you. Okay.
Oh, this is okay. Who my person is.
Yeah, this is who they are.
I love that.
This is who they are. And if this is you, I want to hear from you. And recently I've started adding a little kicker to it, which is, and I didn't think of this till I actually posted my own ad. Posting my own ad was very instructive. I wound up because it was mine. I spent, months thinking about it.
Right.
But I just thought, you know what? I am going to be on each. I noticed working with clients that different dating apps and sites, they push you really hard. They show your picture and your profile to lots of people for about 2 to 3 weeks. And then no. Okay. But then they've taken your money for half a year. So find a way to sign up for 1 month and 1 month only. It's more expensive, actually. Like Match charges, I think, almost $50 for 1 month, but they only charge like $37 for 3 months. Sign up for 1 month. Match knows, then their algorithm knows it better keep pushing you or you're not going to re-up.
Okay.
Right? So
I have so many questions for you. Like, is there a better app for certain ages?
Yes, but let me finish with this. So because literally, this is why I have a whole book about it, not like a pamphlet. Right. There's a lot to know. There's a lot to know. So I said, wanted co-star for fun rom-com starring brackets your name here.
Okay.
Opening scene, Anne Hathaway or another dark-eyed brunette with short hair, a winning smile, a discernible waist, fair skin, and a slender yet surprisingly strong build, ponders having introduced many happy couples and wanting the same for herself. Wondering where her own match is, she decides to place an online ad for the role of eventual boyfriend. He. The rest of this ad is him. It's not me. And obviously, I'm not Anne Hathaway. That's a total pipe dream. But it's funny. Be funny. If you want somebody funny, be funny.
Right.
I had pictures there. They know I'm not Anne Hathaway.
Well, and this just shows, if you need to do this on your own, you're giving people, but if you want to get really creative, you could contact someone like you.
Or contact me specifically. I do this. I've been doing this for 20 years.
Right. Right. And do you call yourself a matchmaker? I don't.
No, my clients have much better results with me than they do with matchmakers.
Okay.
Every client that I've had who's used a matchmaker has unanimously said they found their person with me and never the matchmaker. Okay. And there are a couple reasons for that as well, but it's the same reason why you don't hand a person a fish, you teach them to fish.
Right.
People know who they want. They know what works for them. I'm going to give you a pool of promising candidates. And how I'm going to give that to you is I'm going to write you an ad that gets rid of people who aren't that person because it's so specific, and it calls the people who are your person. The man who is this person is so excited, he's going to interrupt whatever he is doing when he sees this ad, and he's going to run to his computer, not walk, and he's going to answer this, which is exactly what happened.
What happened to you. Yeah.
Carrie was walking in a park, Match sent my picture, he looked at it, he went over to the my profile, he read it, it was him. He said normally if he would see a profile that was kind of, I guess that could work, maybe he would wait a day and he'd think about it. And, he said he ran home. He had been on a walk. He was not running. He ran home. He got on his computer and he instantly typed out a really great response, by the way, which answered in the same spirit. It's a wonderful letter. It starts, big Anne Hathaway fan here.
Okay, so listeners, this stuff really worked. And Duana, I'm going to just right now say we're going to end today's episode, but we're going to just keep going. And this is going to be a part 1 and part 2. So the first half is the 5 first things you talk about in your book. So now, listeners, welcome back for part 2 with Duana Welch. We learned the 5 things out of the 10 in our first episode. Duana, can you tell us, we're chomping at the bit because we love what we've heard so far and we love that it worked for you. What is the 6th thing that people need to do as they're following through the steps to meeting their match? through science.
Honestly, I'm not even going by the structure of the book right now. These things are all in the book and they've got a lot of details and examples in the
Yeah.
book. But, you know, it's not the next important thing is that once you've written this ad that should speak directly to the person and you remind yourself it's not a numbers game. I just want to throw this in here. It's not even one of the steps. It's one of the things I've realized after
Yep.
20 years of working with clients all over the world. And I do have clients all over the world. Everyone thinks it's a numbers game. They get told it's a numbers game. It is not. It's a knowledge game.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know? If you know the right stuff and you can apply it, then it becomes about interacting with very few carefully chosen people. I'm going to give you an example that one of my former clients has allowed me to use. So, one of my former clients, we worked together, and then she, basically said, some of these things are too hard. I don't really want to do them. And, I'll think about it. Maybe I'll get back with you. And then she reached out after I'd met Carrie and she wanted to see a picture. And I showed her, by the way, Carrie is gorgeous. I mean, just facts, facts. In addition to being absolutely gorgeous on the inside, he's empirically. And so she saw our picture and she goes, "Oh my gosh, okay, I'll do it. I'll do whatever you say." So we resumed working together and she did some things she had really resisted. Like she actually took the profile that we co-created and her pictures, which I took of her, and some other people took them as well. Because if somebody's local or if they're traveling distance and they, are willing to engage me to do that, I'll do that. But I
Mm-hmm.
also help crop people's pictures and stuff like that, which I can do long distance. We got all that together and I said, "Okay, remember last time how you didn't want to show this to friends and family?" And she said, "Yeah." I said, "Because you're embarrassed. And I told you that if you were looking for a job, you wouldn't be embarrassed to ask them,
Right.
why is this different?" Well, it feels like an admission of failure. People want to come to your wedding and say, "I introduced them." Everyone wants this.
Yes.
Everyone wants this. This is not an embarrassing thing. This is giving your friends a chance to step up. Imagine if one of your friends or family asked you to do it. Would you think, "Oh, what a loser," or would you think,
Right.
"Yes, I get the chance to be the hero here"?
So tell me, Duana, her showing it to family and friends, what's that doing for her
Well,
or
it's
him?
it's expanding a person's reach because effectively they have eyes and ears on the ground looking for someone who
Gotcha.
fits who fits their ad. You're not going to share your list. You're going to share your photos that you posted
Yep.
online and you're going to share your ad, your profile that you posted online, which again is not about you. It's about the person you're looking for. And you're going to say to your friends, and my book goes into much more detail about exactly how to do this so that they will say yes and so they'll take it seriously because there are ways to do this and ways not to do this. But you're going to say to your friends, "I really respect you, and I don't know if you know anyone single. It's fine if you don't. I'd still like to share with you um, a profile I wrote about the person I'm looking for and some photos of me. So if you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, you
Okay.
don't
And
even have to know the single person. I'm asking you to take these things so that if you hear about someone or you meet somebody who works with a lot of single people, and you give it to them, that you share, I'm giving you permission to share this
all
and
right, I
make
love
sure
it.
that they can get in touch with me." So she also did the online thing.
Hmm.
So the next step is actually put it online and um, actually send it out into the world. She put it online, but she also sent it to people that she knew. And one of the people that she sent it to was her son. And her son, and this part you can do over text. Don't want you to do your
Right.
list that way, but this part, she
Hmm.
after she had the convo with him, "Would you be willing to do this? I know this is a little awkward. I'm your mom." He said, "Sure. I'd love you to be happy, Mom."
Aw.
Right? Don't your kids want you to be happy?
Yes.
Yeah. "I'd love you to be happy, Mom." This is a young adult, of course, and that you wouldn't do this with like your 10-year-old.
Right. Right. Right.
But yeah, I'd love that. So he
Can
shared
I?
it. He
Oh, I'm.
shared it with he shared it with his girlfriend. His girlfriend shared it with her hairdresser. Her hairdresser shared it with her father, who's marrying my client. They're over the age of 70.
That's so crazy and crazy good.
Yeah.
And
You know
your
the
mark.
odds. I started the last session saying the odds of getting remarried if you're a 50-year-old woman are only 15 out of 100. This former client, is over 70 and is having the best relationship of her entire life.
And
So,
you're selling yourself. You're just having the courage to do something a little uncomfortable and put yourself out there. Can I ask? I can't help it. I just have to ask a little bit for a little bit of advice on the pictures. And I know you don't probably can't go into great detail, but do you put a glamour shot on?
no,
What do you do for pictures?
glad you asked. If you put filters on, people know you put filters on. They think you don't look nearly that good. If if you are inclined toward men, men value youth and beauty. Gay men value it, bi men value it, trans men value it. Actually, women who self-identify as butch and lesbian value youth and beauty, and straight men value it. So if you want to attract one of those groups, I want you to take pictures that show you on a really good day, but not a glamour shot, not something with filters. And here's why. When you use filters, these other groups assume that you're not nearly as good looking as you're representing.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to like you more when they meet you in person. They're going to be
Right.
mad that you misled them. That is exactly what they're going to think.
So you want real ones.
Real. My pictures, I had cut my own hair during the pandemic. I actually cut my own hair every week. I still
I
do.
remember that.
Yeah. And so I used to have, as you know, from my PR photo, which I still use because it's everywhere. It's on all my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I used to have these cascading waves of hair, right? And I'd cut them all off. And I thought about growing it out before I went and dated. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I like my hair short, and I'm going to find somebody who likes it short because I can. You
Mm-hmm.
can. You don't have to be a different person. You don't have to change your look radically. But what you do have to do is be clean, represent. It's amazing how many people don't get that part. Your person needs to be clean. You need to represent yourself as clean. You need to have no clutter in the background.
Okay.
Do not pick the cute picture of yourself with the laundry behind you. No. Take
I
it
mean,
with You can take it with an iPhone. Make sure you're
okay.
smiling. Make sure the first 2 to 3 photos of yourself are headshots where you're smiling directly into the lens. The reason being that our lizard brains are inherited evolutionary brains that developed before there was language. Think that a smile means interest and friendliness, especially males think that. So just like that will draw somebody from across a crowded room, it makes you more appealing. Also, if you are into men, again, whether you're a gay man or anybody who likes men, if you're into men, if you want a real relationship, look, anyone can hit it and quit it. Anybody can make that happen. Absolutely anyone can make that happen. But if you want a real relationship, that
Right.
takes some doing. So that's who my clients are. They're people, because I have people say, well, couldn't you just do something different and get sex easily? Well, of course you could, but that's not who I work with.
Right.
So if you want a real relationship and you want a man, you want those first couple of pictures to be headshots for a very simple reason, which is there's a phenomenon where men who are in short-term mating mode want to look at bodies, not faces, and men who are in
Oh.
long-term mating mode want to look at faces more than bodies if they have to choose. This is
Mm-hmm.
research out of Dr. David Buss's evolutionary psychology lab at UT Austin from a few years ago. And so, if you've got a rockin' bod, here's what I don't want you to do. I do not want you to wear clothes that are overly tight, overly short. This is no matter who you're looking for, male or female. Do
Okay.
not don't have if you're a dude, don't be shirtless. I don't care if you've got a six pack, let her find it out or let him find it out
Okay.
later. Later, not now. And here's why. Other research shows that when you present yourself wearing not very much clothing, or the clothing that you have is extremely tight or very revealing, or all of the above. What people think is, oh, they'll have sex with anyone. They're on the prowl. Keep in mind, if you're on the prowl, that's fine. But if you're watching this, probably you're looking for a long-term relationship.
Right.
Long-term people, the best partners, will not respond to that. You'll get a lot more responses, but remember, dating isn't.
Yeah, that's not, yeah.
It's not a numbers game.
Yep.
It's a knowledge game. So
Yep.
I'm telling you, this is the knowledge you need. Make sure that your picture is kind of you on a good day, but not your best possible day. I want when you show up to this date, and picture shouldn't be older than 6 months.
Okay.
I know that you think you look like you did 5 years ago, but other people don't think that. I wish that I looked like I did 5 years ago, but honestly, empirically, I just don't. So,
Right.
so, by the way, that's a great argument for accepting and loving how you look right this minute. In 5 years, you'll think how cute you were. You may as well
I
think
know. Exactly.
you may as well think you're cute right now instead of waiting 5 years to do it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So anyway, the pictures I posted of myself were, I showed them to my grown son, and I said, here's the array of photos. All taken with my cousin's iPhone. It was during pandemic. She took some that were close in, some that were further away. And the really close ones I took myself because it was pandemic. You had to do that.
Right.
And there was no vaccine yet. This is December of 2020 that I'm taking having these pictures taken. And I said, son, I only want you to select pictures that you think are less physically appealing than I am.
Really?
Well, if a man is good with that, he's going to be great with how you look in real life.
Be so excited and surprised. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't pick, horrible pictures, but I didn't pick the ones that were like, yeah, on the right day at the right angle with exactly the right light, this is what you could have. I picked the ones that look the way that I look. I didn't do anything special with my hair. I love hiking, so all my pictures were hiking.
Oh, and that's youthful.
Yes. Oh, pro tip, put the word fun in your ad at least twice. It makes everybody think you're young, even if you're not.
All right. Oh, this is such good information. All right. Are we going through the steps? Like, I think we did. Did we do 6 steps?
Well, we're not really following the exact steps in the book.
You're just giving me.
We had been talking about, dating advice. So I'm just kind of going through.
Good.
If you were only going to get some dating advice, this would be some of the most important dating advice. So another piece of dating advice that I have for you is before you post your profile, after you've written your ad, but before you post your profile, after you've got your pictures, but before you put them online, what I really would like you to do is, wait a second, we need to cut this part.
Okay,
we'll go back to me saying after you've got your pictures and before you go online.
Okay, after I'm writing this down from my editor. Okay. Let's just do a pause.
Yep. So we're not really going through the steps exactly. What I'm doing is giving people what I think is, if you're just going to take the quick hit, this is some of the most important knuckles down practical advice. So the next thing I'm going to tell you is after you've got your pictures in your profile, but before you go online, I'd like you to psychologically prepare yourself. Because if you've done this the way that I teach people to do it, the way that my book teaches you to do it, the way that I teach my clients to do it, you're going to have your best shot in the first 30 days of running that ad anywhere. That's when the algorithm pushes you the hardest. That's when your friends and family are likely to push this the hardest. So I don't want the right person to approach and you're thinking, oh, I don't know what to do now.
Right.
Get your head in the game. And one of the ways to do that is know your must-haves backward and forward and know how you're going to assess them. That list is the most important thing I do with with my clients. It is indispensable. If you try this without a list, you're going to get predictably terrible results most of the time. Do this with a list. And so then you can say to yourself, I'll just go to my list here. Is he kind? That's a must-have, should be on everybody's list. Is he kind? Well, how would I assess that? I know what I would do. I would ask him, if your ex were here right now, what would she say was the reason for your divorce? And then I'm going to listen really carefully, not only to what he says, because that can give me some really good insight into who he is and whether it'll work for me. Most people will give you a very different answer to what would other people say, what your ex say, as opposed to what would you say. You're going to get it. It's a different reason. So
Right.
you can ask that question. So you listen for not only what they say, how do they say it? Do they say something like, well, we just turned out to marry having very different values. We were super young, and it turned out that I had, I really believed very strongly in these things, and she really believed very strongly in these other things. And those things were deal breakers, and we just really didn't know that when we were 20 or however years old. Okay. Notice that that answer doesn't malign the ex's character. That's a kind answer.
Right.
Let's say the answer is a harder answer. Let's say the answer is, well, we were married for about 3 years. It turned out that she had been having affairs since the time I first met her. I didn't know this. I tried to work it out with her, but ultimately she chose to continue in that. That's also a kind answer. That's a kind answer. Here's what it isn't. It's not mean-spirited. A mean-spirited answer would call her a name and denigrate who she is.
Right.
Here's the thing. Look, that when this person was going through the divorce from the person who cheated on them left, right, and center, that they've thought about calling that person a name a few times, that they haven't actually done it. But they better not show that to you the first several months that you know them, because if someone will right out the gate show you any unkindness or mean-spiritedness to absolutely anyone, I don't care who it is, anyone, your life's going to be hard if you pick them. People show us the best they're capable of up front. Whatever you ask them to assess kindness, they need to answer it very kindly. And if they don't, move on.
Okay. And now I'm thinking too, because I haven't done this. I haven't been through this. So are you finding out your must-haves before you actually go on a date through talking to them? Or are some of them you're going to learn as you date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, for example, if your ex were on this call with us, how would they say the divorce went down, or what would they say was the cause? You can say that on a phone call.
Right.
You can,
but you can also do it on a date too. I'm sorry to talk over you. I didn't mean to. So you can do it on the phone, or when you're sitting with them, you're still assessing all of that during your first several dates.
You will be assessing things until you're sure that this person is right for you.
Okay.
But I encourage you to do it before you're even on a call.
Okay.
I encourage you to, again, this is a process, and we don't have that many hours to go into the whole process. But,
I know.
But I want you to look at people's profiles, compare them to your must-haves. If they have a straight up and down deal breaker on their profile, like you won't be with a smoker and they are a smoker, or you don't want to be with somebody who is, I don't know, some particular religion, or not a religion at all. That's a deal breaker for you. And you see that they say something that doesn't work for you. Come on, don't think, well, maybe I could get past it. No, you've been divorced. Don't continue telling yourself this. You're not going to get past it. That's why it's a deal breaker. That's why it's on your must-haves. In that case, if they reached out to you, you can say to them, and I encourage you to say it, don't be rude. Part of getting someone kind and respectful is being kind and respectful. You can say, I really appreciate that you reached out to me. I looked at your profile and it seems like you're a really exciting, wonderful person. And at the same time, I don't think there's enough of a match, but I wish you well in your search. Put it in a document online, cut and paste it, drop it in to anybody, make them feel good. They reached out to you. They took a chance. Okay. But
Right.
if you were thinking of reaching out, just don't reach out. Okay. Let's say, though, that it's nebulous. Let's say that they don't say anything about their drinking. They didn't answer that question. Or it's an app where they only let you give like 5 adjectives to describe your entire soul.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to need to ask them detailed questions. And you
Right.
should be asking that from the moment you begin contact. Hey, so and so, I really like X and Y about your profile. I noticed that you didn't. So here's what I actually said to people. Hey, I really like X and Y about your profile. I noticed that you didn't really answer about how much you drink, or actually, the site we were on, I said, this site really doesn't give detailed information about how often people drink. Um, I'm casting, the casting agent will be casting for someone who is relatively uh, alcohol free. Can you tell us more about your fit with this role? I stayed in character.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would get lots of different answers to that. If you get an answer that doesn't work, politely say, oh, that makes me sad. You've got so much good that's going on, but unfortunately, that's not going to be something that can work for me. I wish you very well in your
Right.
search.
Or thank
Okay.
you for being honest. I mean,
Yeah, thanks for being honest. I wish you well in your search, or whatever. Be nice.
be
Okay.
nice.
But end it at the first moment. Okay, another example. Okay, so I have a PhD and I live in a pretty small place. So here I
I
am.
didn't know you lived in a small place, but
I
I knew
do.
you had a PhD.
I do. I live in a pretty small place. I have a PhD. The world is not full of men who are looking for women in their 50s with PhDs, especially my town. So this guy writes to me, and I mean, on paper, this is amazing. But there are a couple things where, um, he actually even downloaded my book and read like 60% of it before he called me. It was great. Lived a mile away, owns his own business, loves women who are accomplished, had a PhD himself. What's kind, respectful, what's not to like here? Okay, so I want you to ask questions instead of doing what everybody does, which gets them in a lot of trouble, which is looking for reasons to like and fall in love with the person. Look for reasons why it won't work. Be
Okay.
upbeat, but ask the hard questions. So I said, wow, you seem like, we got like a few minutes in the conversation. I said, you seem like an amazing person. I'm so excited to meet, somebody else who, has a similar education level and is interested in some of the same things. And you're really fun to talk to. And so that makes me not want to get to like you a whole lot more if we're not a match. Like, I'm not interested in getting super invested
Right.
if we're not a match. So I need to ask you some tough questions. Put it out there. Why are you afraid to put it out there? I promise you the reason isn't good.
Right.
I promise you it's low self-esteem,
Mm-hmm.
or you feel like you're not worth it, or you think this is the last possible person in the whole world who might be a good match for you. I'm not going to ask you to feel differently about that. I'm just going to ask you to change your behavior. Remember the last podcast where I said I don't ask people to
Mm-hmm.
change their attitudes, just their behavior. I ask you to change your behavior. So I said that, and he said, "Well, like what kind of questions?" And I said, "Well, for example, I noticed right before the call that you list that you're politically moderate. I'm extremely liberal. Like, you could probably look at a stereotype of what liberals think, and I probably think it. So I'm wondering what's an area where I might think something that you might think something different."
Right.
I'm not looking for reasons to get along here. I'm looking for reasons why we're going to divorce someday, right?
Yeah.
I don't want another divorce.
Yeah.
Okay, so he said, well, I'm really, really socially liberal. I'm pretty fiscally liberal. I guess the big thing is guns. I carry a gun with me everywhere I go. And I go, oh. And he said, oh, that's not a deal breaker, is it? And I said, do you know how tempting it was? Keep in mind, I live in a small
Yeah.
place. He's got a PhD, he lives 1 mile away. He's cute. He's real cute, right? 1 mile away, super cute, interesting to talk to. And I let him go. I said, and I let him go because I had done the work on the list, which I want you
Mm-hmm.
to do. Do the work on the list. I'd done the work on the list. I knew what my must have And I knew that that wasn't going to work for me. It just
Yeah.
wasn't. And by the way, I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying
Right.
he's wrong to carry a gun with him everywhere he goes.
Right.
I'm I'm saying it's not going to work for me. That's a very different thing than being
Hmm.
judgmental of who he is as a human. I think he's an amazing man, but he's not my
Absolutely.
man.
Yeah.
I really hope, I don't know, but I really hope he's found the right one because he is an amazing person. I hope he's found a delightful partner for him. But it wasn't going to be me.
Right.
So he said, well, I guess I could just not carry it when we go out. And I
Hmm.
said, that is so kind of you, but I just know myself really well. And it's just not going to work for me. It's just that's really pulls apart on an issue that's so important to me that I actually stopped being a professor in Texas and moved to a different state over this issue.
Wow.
It's a very important issue to me. So I'm not saying it should be an important issue to everybody watching this, and you may feel
Hmm.
exactly the opposite from me, and I'm not saying you're wrong. What I am
Right.
saying is it wouldn't work for me. I acknowledge that, and I didn't go on a date with this man who's a good man. When people tell me I'm lucky to be with Carrie, they're right. I'm lucky to be with Carrie, but it's not just luck. I said no to the wrong man that I met 3 days in.
Right. And that's so easy to glom on and do that. And Dr. Duana, we're like heading to the end now of our second episode, and I love your stories. I feel like I could sit and listen to you for hours on end, and I really think I'm so grateful to know you and to be able to share this with people. I have people in my head that I'm thinking of that, oh, for sure they need to do the 15-minute free consultation with you. So as we get to the end of my episodes, I always do the saddle up segment. If you could give us give the listeners a piece of advice, something they can do right now, to move forward in a positive direction, what would that be?
If you can find and be someone kind and respectful, your love life will probably go well. And if you can't, it won't. 60 years of data behind that statement.
Yeah. Wow. And that would be something we could delve into another time as well.
Sure.
The science of it is so I'm just a geek about it. I just
Yeah.
love like learning all the things that you're teaching. So how do people get a hold of you if they want you to set up their profile to, how do they reach you and
You
find your
know,
book?
honestly, they can just Google Duana Welch, Duanawelch. My last name's like the grape juice. They could do
Okay.
that, or they can go to lovesciencemedia.com, and there's like a million articles and podcast
Yeah.
episodes, and also that there's a contact. There's a form there, and you can contact me, and my phone number's there. I mean, it's pretty hard to miss me actually if you go to lovesciencemedia.com or lovefactually.co, or just type in my name. You'll find
Okay.
me.
And we will have that in the show notes. So people go find her. She's got a wealth of information. I'm going to have you back again because I just love having you. So thank you so much for taking the time and a long time. You spent a long time with us today. So I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
soon.
It's delightful. It's my pleasure. And I hope I hear from a bunch of you out there because
Mhm.
I would love to see you happy. When you're happy, the whole world gets to be a better place, and science backs that up.
Amen.